You know what's strange? Some of the most observant, emotionally aware people don't develop that awareness through learning. They develop it because at some point they had to. Not by choice, but by environment. There are people whose minds became sharp, not out of curiosity, but out of necessity. They learned to read tone, to notice small changes, to pay attention to what wasn't being said. Because at one point, those details mattered. Psychologically, this is often described as a form of adaptive intelligence, not something you study, something your brain builds. When a person is exposed to unpredictability, especially early in life, the brain adjusts. It becomes more sensitive to patterns, more alert to emotional signals, more focused on anticipating what might happen next. Over time, this creates a system that doesn't just observe, it monitors. One of the clearest signs is how quickly you read environments. You walk into a room, and before anything is said, something in you already knows the tone. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, immediate sense. This isn't guesswork, it's recognition. Your brain has seen similar patterns before, and it connects them instantly. Another pattern is how you process interactions. A conversation ends, but your mind keeps working. You go back over it. Not just the words, but the delivery, the timing, what might have been implied. This isn't simply overthinking, it's analysis, and it tends to happen automatically. There is also a noticeable shift in how you approach communication. Before speaking, there's often a brief internal check, not hesitation, evaluation. Different outcomes are considered. Different reactions are anticipated. This happens quickly, sometimes without you realizing it. And at the center of this pattern is something important: control. Not control over people, but control over uncertainty. When environments are unpredictable, the brain compensates. It tries to reduce uncertainty by preparing in advance, by thinking ahead, by staying aware. That's why imagined conversations can feel natural. Not because you want to rehearse life, but because your brain is trying to stay ready. There is also a strong sensitivity to emotional inconsistency. Someone says one thing, but their tone suggests something else, and you notice the difference immediately. This is often described as emotional attunement, but it's not random, it's learned. Over time, this also shapes independence. You tend to solve problems internally. You rely on your own thinking first, not because you reject help, but because your system is built that way. Emotionally, there is often more depth than is visible. Externally, you may appear calm, but internally, there is continuous processing. Thoughts are examined, reactions are filtered, meaning is constantly being interpreted. This creates a gap between what is felt and what is expressed. Trust also follows a different structure. It takes time, not because of fear, but because your brain filters carefully. It has learned that not every signal can be taken at face value, so it observes, waits, confirms. There is also a noticeable relationship with stillness. When things become quiet, the mind does not always slow down. It continues, reviewing, predicting, connecting. This is not restlessness, it's conditioning. And over time, it leads to something subtle but consistent: mental fatigue. Not from doing too much physically, but from always processing, always noticing, always interpreting. And yet, this system is highly effective. It allows for deep understanding of people. It improves pattern recognition. It helps you adapt quickly in complex situations. But it also comes with a cost, because the same awareness that helps you understand everything makes it harder to switch off. Psychologically, this reflects something important. The brain doesn't just respond to experience, it reorganizes itself around it. So what looks like personality is often the result of adaptation. And once that structure is built, it continues operating, even when it's no longer needed in the same way. That's what makes it complex, because the intelligence is real, but so is the reason it developed. And once you recognize that, the patterns stop feeling random. They start to feel structured, predictable, understandable. It was never just the way you are. It was something your mind learned and kept. Thank you for watching, and see you on our next one.